Our first cruise aboard the Star Clipper was an Atlantic crossing 5 years ago. Well, we were hooked. When we learned about the ship's maiden voyage to Indonesia, we excitedly signed up. We boarded the Star Clipper to begin our cruise of Indonesia in Singapore. First order of business was the obligatory lifeboat drill with the ship's cruise director, Peter Kistner. With a few sails set, we headed southeast, right into the path of the rising full moon. Soon the twinkling lights of nighttime Singapore were left behind, but the Star Clipper and the moon continued to light the sky. Morning pastel hues had us hurry up to the main deck to photograph and enjoy the sunrise over quiet seas. Now we were in Indonesian waters and raised their national flag as a courtesy. The Star Clipper's house flag also flies. We could see a bit of wind filling in. The crew got things ready for raising more sails. The fore and aft sails are set by the crew. The square sails are electrically controlled. Captain Bruno and Chief Mate Dominic set the course and relayed it to the helmsman. Around mid-morning, Peter usually held an informational story time on deck. Particulars of the day's events were announced, as well as lectures on maritime history. Since it was a calm day, our buffet lunch was served at the tropical bar deck. There were lots of choices, both hot and cold. Then order a drink of your choice from the bar. Al and Tony have found a good lunch spot. Life on board is not a challenge. How about setting another sail? Al gives a hand, winching in the sheet. When the sunset glow spreads across the deck, it is time for champagne sundowners, quite literally, which makes it easy to slide right into dinner at the well-appointed dining room. Open seating provides opportunity to make new friends while savoring the fine selections from the menu. Our Indonesian itinerary included stops at some small islands. At anchor, we went ashore via the lifeboat tenders, here to the dock at Pantara Island. Local ladies from the small resort were on hand to greet us with smiles and a welcome dance. Of course, we joined in. A peaceful stroll along the beach reminded us of times gone by. Then back to the ship and up the gangway, checking in with the deck officer before getting underway to the next adventure. The hazy sunrise found the Star Clipper maneuvering amongst the ships in Jakarta harbor. Soon the pilot was brought out to the ship and climbed aboard. The pilot gave directions that had our captain deftly backing up into our space at the pier and securely moored. Welcome to Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. Local guides directed us onto buses for the different excursions. Our particular route took us into this large city, often on traffic-clogged streets, to visit Sunda Kelapa, the historic 12th century port. The harbor is still being used today by inter-island boats, carrying cargoes of various sorts, perhaps even the precious spices that had once made the Dutch trade so prosperous from these islands. However, the two-masted sailing ships have now been converted to diesel-powered. The restored old drawbridge led to warehouses at the old port. We walked from the bridge along busy streets, stopping to check out a tropical fruit stand. This area was full of canvas working shops. We marveled at a multi-purpose tarpaulin welding machine. Our objective was Fathahillah Square, with its many old Batavia-era buildings. It happened to be a holiday. The square was full of young people riding colorful bikes with hats to match, only to be upstaged by the little bubble blowers. The holiday had closed the puppet museum, but our guide got the caretaker to open up for our group. Puppets are a very traditional storytelling art form throughout Indonesia. Street food carts lined the space around the square, serving up portions of local favorites right at the cart. Gives a new meaning to the idea of a sidewalk cafe, doesn't it? Onward, While the Star Clipper was swishing along with stately grace, Peter gave us the rundown on our next landfall, another small island in this peaceful turquoise sea. Docking was easily accomplished at the jetty, belonging to a well-maintained and welcoming Kura resort. We found the snorkeling here to be terrific, and were told the local cold beer was too. Bit of a drama going back to the ship. Al had fallen and scraped his leg. Our ship's nurse, Alan, met us at the gangway, then cleaned and dressed the wound. In order to visit Borobudur Temple, Indonesia's #1 tourist attraction, the Star Clipper docked at the port of Samarang. Buses were on line to drive us to Borobudur. Our 2.5-hour ride would have taken much longer without the police escort. It was nice to see interior scenery and farmland. We had refreshments at a forested mountain lodge before reaching the park-like surroundings of Borobudur. Proper dress, sarongs for both men and women, was required. Borobudur is the world's largest Buddhist temple. It consists of 9 stacked platforms. Our guide had us walk clockwise along the 3 levels of symbolic Buddhist chronology. The fascinating carved figures told many stories. The panels also depicted the life and times of the 9th century artists. So how did this type of boat get there? Climbing steep stairs to the upper terraces offered views of the valley between the 2 important volcanoes. Each of these small stone stupas was said to have contained a figure of Buddha, but now only one freestanding image remains. Visitors come from all over Indonesia. Many happily greeted us and asked to have their photos taken. Bamboo and palm leaf gate ornaments decorated the path to the restaurant. There, lovely dancers performed while we ate our lunch of typical Indonesian food. Indonesia is a nation of islands, said to have more than 17,000 islands. Luckily, our itinerary could only visit a few. The beach at Gili Genteng welcomed passengers to swim or lounge, or perhaps take some cold refreshments. We took a walk to the little village there, passing the tidy cemetery and a few small shops, meeting some of the friendly locals. We had seen these fish traps along the way and now had a chance to inspect them more closely. This intricate structure was tied up in the small harbor, as well as the gaily painted fishing boats. Because of our interest in them, we quickly made new friends with the village fishermen before having to board the tender and go back home. And by now the Star Clipper did seem like home. Our comfortable cabin had a porthole above the bed, plenty of shelves and hanging spaces, even a small desk. We liked the days at sea. Reading and relaxing seemed to be the name of the game. Or you could climb up the rigging to the crow's nest. Yes, way up there. Al gets instructions and his safety harness, and up he goes. Things look different from a crow's nest perspective. Then before you know it, it's sunset time. The days slip away much too quickly. Every time the Star Clipper stopped at a new anchorage, a barrage of officials would stream aboard. Once our clearance papers were stamped and approved, we were free to go ashore. We got a red carpet welcome at Probolinggo. This small city on the north coast of Java has an active fishing fleet. Whether the boats fish with nets or long lines, there was plenty of activity to keep the men busy on deck. That is, until mealtime came along. Afterwards, boat went out to sea to pursue those fish. Walking the tree-lined streets gave us glimpses of the local community, a neighborhood fruit stall, or a street-side clothing booth. Everyone we met was open and smiling. We took a pedal cab to the main market, a common form of transportation here. The market provided another view into the local life, plenty of dried fish as well as fresh fish. There were kitchen tools and baskets. How about bean curd cakes, bananas and plantains, or sweet-smelling flower garlands? We never did figure out what she was making, however. The anchor ball is raised to show that the Star Clipper is once more at rest. Not rest for the sports team, however, who get busy taking the water toys ashore and setting up a beach camp for us. Yep, it's play day. Snorkel, kayak, paddleboard, or try out the little sailboat like Al did. Whoa, low tide has made it more difficult to get back into the Zodiacs. Not to worry, it had been a delightful day. The island of Komodo was next on our agenda, specifically to visit Komodo National Park, home of the giant monitor lizards of the same name. The park rangers gave us a briefing before leading small groups along the park paths in hopes of seeing these so-called dragons, and see them we did. Komodo dragons have a fearsome reputation, but they are not highly aggressive. They are patient predators, though, choosing prey that is weak or injured, eventually eating the intended victim. Komodo dragons can grow up to 10 feet long and weigh over 300 pounds. I guess the dragon lizards we saw were well fed. They certainly were on their best behavior. Another sail away. I never get tired of the dramatic conquest of paradise music. Captain's dinner was upon us far too soon. Captain Bruno thanked us for joining this voyage and hoped we would return for another. It was hard, knowing we would soon have to part with so many great new friends. We had shared good times and good sailing. They will always be in our memories. A parade of servers brought our fire-lit baked Alaska for a dessert finale. Okay, up to the tropical bar deck for the eagerly awaited passenger and crew talent show. The deck crew gave us a fisherman's dance from Goa, India. Marietta performed a Philippine candle dance. Our steward, Fendi, sings with his mates. And a couple of the passengers gave out with a song. Then Lee brought the house down with her belly dancing. The final serenade by the crew led to group participation in various popular dance numbers by the happy passengers. While we all packed our bags for departure, the crew was busy securing the sails and dressing ship for our final port of Bali. The Star Clipper's maiden voyage to Indonesia had been a success. As in the past, we will look forward to our next Star Clipper adventure.